The Now Habit is a book about understanding why people procrastinate and how to stop doing it, not by forcing yourself to be disciplined, but by learning how your mind works and replacing old habits with new ones. The author, Neil Fiore, explains that procrastination isn't just about laziness or lack of willpower. It is a pattern of fear. Fear of not doing well enough, fear of failure, fear of being judged, fear of success, fear of embarrassment, fear of the unknown. Most people who procrastinate are not irresponsible. They are protecting their self-esteem by delaying tasks until the last moment when there is pressure to complete them. This pressure feels familiar, so it gives an excuse for not trying earlier or doing the best possible work. Fiore's overall message is that to stop procrastinating, you have to change how you think about tasks, how you talk to yourself, and how you plan your time. He begins by pointing out that most people who procrastinate are caught in a cycle of stress, guilt, and avoidance. They intend to start early, but something pulls them toward easy comforts, social media, chatting, snacking, cleaning the house, anything but the actual work. The more time slips away, the worse they feel, but instead of starting the task, they feel so bad that they avoid it even more. This creates a loop where the brain links the task with negative feelings, which leads to deeper avoidance next time. The author emphasizes that self-criticism doesn't help. When you tell yourself things like, "I'm lazy," you make yourself feel worse, and your brain wants to escape the task even more. To break this loop, you need a different approach, one that builds confidence and makes progress easier. One of the most important ideas Fiore introduces early in the book is that you should accept that procrastination is normal and that most people do it at times. Thinking that something is bad because you procrastinated makes you resist it more. Instead, you can learn to be curious and kind to yourself. Recognize that a fear is behind the avoidance. When you look at your fear without judgment, it loses some of its power. The author encourages understanding the messages you tell yourself. Many procrastinators talk to themselves in ways that sound like critics. "This has to be perfect. What if people laugh at my work? If I screw this up, I'll look foolish." These critical judgments are internal voices shaped by past experiences and cultural pressures. They trigger anxiety, and your brain naturally steers away from anxiety. The first major concept the book introduces is training yourself to think differently. Instead of thinking, "I have to get this perfect," you begin thinking, "I want to make progress," or "I want to start and see where it goes." These small shifts change how your brain approaches tasks. Fiore suggests replacing rigid rules like "I must finish this by tomorrow" with flexible desires. "I choose to work on this because it matters to me." When your motivation comes from desire rather than fear, you are more likely to begin and sustain effort. He also stresses the importance of understanding your internal language, the self-talk you repeat in your head. If your inner voice is discouraging, you can consciously replace it with encouraging statements. For example, instead of "I can't deal with this now," you tell yourself, "I will handle this in a bit, and I can start small." Fiore introduces a tool called the Unschedule. The Unschedule is not a usual planner. Instead of blocking long hours for big tasks you should do, you schedule only activities you enjoy and must do, like exercise, meals, time with friends, and breaks. The idea is counterintuitive. By scheduling fun and easy things first, you remove the pressure and guilt that often comes with planning work. Once enjoyable activities and necessary routines are set, your brain feels safe and less anxious. Then you can add short, guilt-free work sessions on top of that. The Unschedule includes only short bursts of work, often 30 minutes or less, so you don't dread them. These short sessions build momentum. Fiore emphasizes that unscheduled work periods should always remain pleasurable and low pressure. When you complete a 30-minute session, celebrate it. This rewires your brain to associate work with success and positive feelings rather than dread. Another central idea is to work on projects in small, manageable chunks. Most procrastinators look at a big task and feel overwhelmed. They imagine the entire mountain they must climb. This mental image paralyzes them. Fiore advises breaking tasks into tiny pieces that feel doable.
For instance, instead of write 20-page report, you break it into write 1 introductory paragraph, list 5 bullet points, find 3 sources, and so on. When tasks feel small enough, starting them becomes easy. The key is not striving for massive productivity at once, but easing into work slowly and consistently. Each small success builds confidence. Fiore emphasizes that perfectionism is one of the biggest enemies of productivity. Perfectionists delay because they fear the work will not be perfect. They think that if they can't do something flawlessly, it's better not to start. The book suggests reframing your relationship with mistakes. Instead of seeing mistakes as proof of incompetence, view them as learning steps. If your first draft isn't perfect, that's expected. Its purpose is to get ideas flowing, not to be a final masterpiece. When you adopt a progress over perfection mindset, your anxiety decreases and your productivity increases. A major part of the book is about recognizing and dealing with internal resistance. Resistance shows up as distractions, tasks that seem urgent but aren't important, phone notifications, hunger, thirst, sudden need to clean, even daydreaming. Fiore explains that resistance is your brain's way of protecting you from discomfort. It's not evil or lazy, it's a survival mechanism that wants to keep you in familiar territory. Your brain sees the discomfort of work as a threat, so it sends you signals that something else is more appealing. This makes resistance less frustrating. Instead of fighting it with force, you learn to acknowledge it and act kindly but decisively. When resistance pulls you toward distraction, you can consciously say, "I see you, resistance, but I'm going to work for 25 minutes." Over time, resistance weakens because your brain learns that work isn't dangerous and that you can handle discomfort. Fiore also discusses the importance of taking regular breaks and recreation. Many people think they need to grind without rest to overcome procrastination. In reality, constant work leads to burnout and more procrastination. The brain needs recovery to perform well. Breaks, play, and leisure are not rewards for finishing work. They are essential parts of a sustainable productivity cycle. When you make recreation a scheduled part of your day, you give your brain permission to rest, and this makes focused work sessions more effective. Fiore explains that play stimulates creativity and reduces stress, which means when you return to work, you are sharper and more resourceful. The book also tackles the fear of failure. Fear of failure is often hidden beneath excuses like, "I'm waiting for the right mood," or "I don't have enough time." These excuses protect you from facing the possibility of failing. Fiore encourages you to face failure as a normal part of progress. You can ask yourself, what's the worst thing that could happen? Often the worst fear is much smaller than your imagination makes it. When you examine the fear honestly, you realize you can cope with it. Many fears are based on assumptions about what others will think or how you will feel, and these assumptions can be challenged. Another concept Fiore introduces is distinguishing between being in the present self and being in the future self. Procrastinators often overvalue the desires and strengths of their future self. They imagine their future self will be more motivated, more energetic, less distracted, and in a better mood. They postpone tasks believing that the future self will handle them. But your future self is as human as your present self and will likely have the same struggles. You begin to take responsibility for your actions by recognizing that the future self is not magically more capable. Instead, you start acting in the present with small, achievable steps. Fiore also discusses common myths about motivation. People think they need to feel motivated before they start working. The author explains that motivation often comes after you begin. It is a result of action, not something you wait for. This means you don't need to feel motivated to begin a task. You simply need to start doing something small, and motivation often grows from that. This is why the Unschedule and short work sessions are effective. They help you start without needing a burst of inspiration. The book includes examples and stories of real people who struggled with procrastination, writers who couldn't begin their novels, students who waited until the night before exams, professionals who avoided important presentations. In almost every case, the person was not lazy. They were afraid of judgment or failure, and they used avoidance to protect themselves. When they adopted the strategies in the book, breaking tasks into small parts, scheduling recreation, changing self-talk, and facing fear, they were able to make consistent progress and actually enjoy their work more. Fiore also explains the difference between urgent tasks and important tasks. Urgent tasks scream for attention, but are not always aligned with your true goals. Important tasks are the ones that move you closer to meaningful achievements. Procrastinators often spend time on urgent but unimportant tasks because those tasks are easier or distracting. The author encourages readers to be clear about their priorities and to protect important work from being displaced by trivial urgencies. You don't ignore urgent tasks entirely, but you recognize their place and manage them without letting them take over your attention. Another idea in the book is dealing with perfectionism through good enough.